And we are live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there. And welcome to a special Thursday edition. Well, you know, because normally we don't do stuff on Thursdays, but the next couple of Thursdays, that kind of changed. But welcome to the Ultraviolet Union, this time with a review. I am joined by our GCW correspondent tonight and our lead on all things GCW and at this point, indie related, Andrew. Andrew doesn't know this, but I'm going to rely on him to help me get through this because I just literally walked in. I am sunbaked. I am burnt. Thankfully, I don't look like Larry the Lobster out here. Beach traffic sucks, especially, you know, there's a whole story that I'm going to tell Andrew afterwards. But we're here, Andrew, for GCW in Japan. I'm excited. This was a set of 3 shows I really enjoyed.
It was really the kickoff to a crazy week of wrestling from GCW.
Lord, y'all did the hit 'em up watch along on Friday. We did Bloodsport, and then you also watched Emo Fight and JCW High Noon and and Powder Keg for
JCW Powder Keg, Juggalo Championship Wrestling.
Jeez Louise. And it's not over because 2-Day War is upon us soon.
Yeah. This month is not light for GCW.
No, it is not. But I'm super excited to review GCW in Japan. We're going to get into it in a little bit, but we're just going to run through all of our housekeeping really quickly before I turn it over to Andrew and all of this. But if you like what you see here, we are on YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, where we are streaming our reviews and watch-alongs and all that good stuff pretty much almost every day of the week in the evening. So we love you for that. And we also do edited reviews of all these lives to shorten it down. That goes up the day after. But if you can't commit to full-length videos, then you can support us and still interact with us on our social media sites where we do report cards for all the shows and the pay-per-views and special events. Our report card list is growing because now we are throwing RevPro UK report cards, starting with the anniversary show. Andrew and I are going to talk to figure out if I can help, when it comes to unloading all that. But, we work with each other here at BC WrestlePod. Nobody needs to be drowning. We're all here to help each other. But we also have some merchandise available to you if you want to support us financially while also getting something really cool for yourself. So not only do we have merch for all our review teams, but we have a special 2-year anniversary, and the 3-year anniversary design will be worked on and uploaded in the next couple of days. Yes, BC WrestlePod is 3 years old now, which is crazy. Lord have mercy. There's a whole story to it. It just started with like the five of us, and now it has evolved into 14 now. So that's wild. There's so many of us. We have a big crew, but we have all that merch as well as our pride and anti-fascism, where those two collections, part of the proceeds will be donated to charities, which includes Point of Pride and the California Youth Immigration Justice Fund and all that good stuff. So link will be in the chat as well at bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. That is bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com. Payday for me is tomorrow, so not only am I going to be paying back some folks because, I'm a person who believes in paying back their debts, but I'm also going to get me at least our own merch to rep during these reviews. So, plus I need more tank tops. It's 115 today, Andrew. I didn't know how I was going to make it. And it's 7 o'clock at night, and it's still 115.
Yeah, no, that's why we're heading out to the coast, because it's much cooler out there. So we're going to be enjoying like 60-degree weather as opposed to the 100+ degree weather. So
can you take me with you?
It's just a short drive for you. It's not that far away.
I'll take a plane. No, I have to set up my classroom. I got to start setting my classroom because 2 weeks out and school starts again.
Yeah.
But we're going to push that aside and we're going to ignore that. So I'm going to turn the reins over to Andrew to guide us through GCW in Japan. So let's get it.
All right. Yeah. So GCW spent 3 days in Japan, and they had some crazy events. Something I noticed this year is the venues felt a bit smaller, but a little more intimate. And in some ways, I felt like that kind of was to the benefit. In other ways, it was kind of surprising, but I got used to it by the end. I figure the way we'll look at this is we'll kind of gloss over every card, because otherwise we're talking about like almost 12 hours of wrestling.
Right. We could speed run through these 3 shows.
Yeah. So we'll start with GCW Japan at Shinjuku Face, which was the first event that they held. There was some, as tend to be when you fly across the world to go perform somewhere else, there were some subject to changes in effect. Super Crazy looked a lot different these 3 days than I think he's ever looked.
I know. And we can talk about it too. I feel bad for Micro Man because he couldn't be there either. I felt so bad for Masha that she couldn't go to Japan. I was just like, I don't know what happened, but damn it, I was so bummed that Masha missed this time around. Hopefully she'll be able to go next year.
I hope so, because man, like her style, especially like having been exposed to more and more Japanese wrestling over the last couple of years, like her style would fit so good there, and there's so many performers I'd love to see her face, but I think everybody else kind of stepped up and filled those voids, and like you said, hopefully we get to see Masha there next year. But we'll start off with our first match that we had was the GCW Tag Team title bout, which was Mother Father versus YDNP, who apparently now are Busta and the Brain. So I think just like their in-ring work, they're still working through their tag team name. So what'd you think about this match, Mikey?
I really like this one. I think this was a really fun way to start off not only the Shinjuku Face stop in this tour, but also I'll just say this: I love Dark Sheik. I'm so happy that Dark Sheik was able to. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. Dark Sheik, we use she pronouns, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Sheik uses she pronouns.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I love Dark Sheik and I respect her so much. But yeah, okay. Thank you for clarifying. But no, I love Dark Sheik. I'm glad that she's able to be here for this tour. Again, her and Effie are such a fun tag team. But yeah, man, YDNP as well. I was just like, every time they go into these, every time they're putting their titles on the line, they're defending them against anybody and everybody, and I'm just like, I don't. How do I say this politely? If they choose to move on to some of the bigger promotions, it doesn't have to be the Fed, but like if they want to, I don't know, go to TNA, if they want to go to AEW, if they want to like explore and do, more independent promotions as well, like I need more exposure for these guys, especially, when we get to a little. I love them and Marcus Mathers when they team up so much. But as far as this match goes, I thought this was fun. It did take me a little bit to get into it, and I don't know if because, and this is mostly for Effie. Effie, girl, I love you. But I felt like it took Effie a little bit to get into the swing of things, but I think because later on when we get to day 3 of this whole entire tour, now I see where all the craziness went. So I was like, okay, now I can see it. Again, we're a week out from when these shows aired live. So now that all 3 have been watched, I was like, okay, now I understand why we kind of, pulled it back a little bit. But there was still a lot of fun between these teams. I enjoyed it.
Well, I think the biggest thing was Mother Father really felt like a very different tag team than the other tag teams that the champs have faced. And it felt very much like they were fighting the mom and dad of GCW.
They really were.
But, I think it was also good for YDMP because they're both really young performers, relatively to a lot of their coworkers, to see them face vets, not only in-ring vets, but also veteran tag teams. So I thought it was a good, fun match, great opener. And that took us to our second bout, which was Shotzi Blackheart versus Drew Parker. This was a fun match to see. It was fun to see both of them. Like Drew Parker, obviously, and we got to see, and we'll talk about this more, like you said, when we get to the third day. This is kind of like a home away from home for Drew Parker. It's a homecoming for him, so he's very familiar with the area as well as the fans are very familiar with him. And it was fun to see Shotzi get to do this Japan tour with GCW. And I thought this was a really fun way to kick it off. What did you think about these two's first matches in Japan during this tour?
When we started getting the matches and the people who were able to go to Japan, and I saw Shotzi was going to go to Japan, I was just like, Shotzi's just living her best life post being, out from the Fed. And I was just like, she's out here wrestling. She still has her cat. And I love that her cast just literally says Indie God on it, which, yeah, it's been a fun week. Also, shout out to Drew Parker / Mr. Wednesday Addams. That picture with him and Paro on Instagram is everything, and I love it. This was fun. Again, Drew Parker is another one. I feel like every time I get to see him, he's always doing something that I am not expecting. And again, Shotzi, despite the cast, is also bringing 110% as well. I thought this was a lot of fun. And Drew was kind of involved a lot throughout the Japan with different feuds and the stories that were leading into everything for this. So this was a lot of fun. I think this was a good bout between the two. And I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I feel like going to Japan, Drew Parker he's one of their bigger stars when they go to Japan because he's so much more known there. I would say he's probably more known in Japan than he's known in the States. So I think that's why they utilized him so much. And like I said, it's his home away from home. So we moved on from this match to our third match of the night, which was Jeffrey John versus Kikutaro. Who is such an interesting character and such a Japanese character. I was first introduced to him the last GCW event in Japan. I thought this was a fun, silly match. It did set up kind of more it was interesting because I didn't expect it, but it set up a storyline that kind of continued throughout the 3 days. So I was definitely much more surprised by this match than I thought I was going to be. But what did you think about getting to see? I was also surprised Jeffrey John was on the Japan tour. But what did you think about getting to see these kind of a slightly silly and a very silly wrestler going against each other?
I love it. Again, because of how much wrestling we watch in general, also because I'm familiar with just like the Japanese comedy tropes in general anyways. listen, the 2000s was a crazy era of Japanese comedy shows that were airing randomly here in the United States, so it was fun. Um, I love Jeffrey and the whole entire like shawl hood situation. He looked like someone's yeah, he looks like someone's baba, which was hilarious to me. I was just like, this is funny. And yeah, this was my first real introduction to Kikutaro, and I love mascot S type character wrestlers, especially when we get them in Japan too. It is fantastic. I'm just like, I don't know what's in the water over there, but Japan just is like, all right, let's do whatever, come up with something, do everything, and just why not? So this was a silly match, but I enjoyed it.
And Jeffrey John actually came out with a surprise victory in this because, like I said, it did lead to a future story. Yoshihiko's music hit, which we'll talk about that character later on. Distracted Kikutaro, and Jeffrey John took advantage by getting a low blow and getting the victory. But that set us up for our next match, which was Atticus Koga versus Mao. I feel like this was probably a match you were looking forward to when you saw this listed, Mikey. How did you feel about it, and how did it kind of live up to your expectations, or did it?
So, and this isn't a knock to either of them because we've seen all three shows in succession and having some time to marinate. Atticus kind of was kind of reserving himself a little bit until we got to day 3. But I like this one. I really, really did. But I think it depends. And actually, this is actually on Mao's part because so my introduction is still recent. I'm recently new to Mao. My introduction to Mao was earlier this year during the New Japan Best of the Super Juniors tournament. He was our DDT wrestling, representative in that whole thing. And I got to watch him in my block of it. And he was so silly and ridiculous. And it was funny. And literally, he is the love connection, which is what I made him fall up. We still had shades here, but I feel like Mao kind of was also reserved here. This was a very reserved match between these two. They kind of like the wrestling was good, but their character work was a little off for me. But then they ramped it up as we went through the rest of the tournament. So I still enjoyed this match, but I was kind of a little underwhelmed. But I still thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, this was. I feel like both of them had really big third night matches, and we'll get to those. We keep saying when we get there. It was a lot of wrestling. Mao was definitely the hometown hero and got a little help from Drew Parker, which set up a match we'll talk about in the following night's event. But Mao was able to pull out the victory here over a very unhappy Atticus Koga. But I agree. I think this was probably the most tame I've seen Atticus, but technically, entertainment-wise, I still thought it was really fun. It was really good. This series of events really made me appreciate how good Atticus is at working with his in-ring partners while still maintaining that kind of the supervillain-esque character that he portrays. We moved on from this match to another singles match and the kickoff of what I'm calling Mander's Haas Tour 2025 because he is still on the tour. It went all the way through Sunday, and I don't think it's going to end there. But he kicked off his first leg of the tour against Kazuda Higuchi, and this match... Oh, tell me what you thought, Mikey, because I definitely have some strong feelings about this, but I want to hear what you thought.
Oh, no, I'm scared about what the strong feelings are. So I'm going to be biased. I mean, Andrew, you know this. I love me Manders. I love me some Manders. He's great. I was like, ooh, Noah represent. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. This was just slap. I was just like, to accurately describe my experience during this match when I was watching it live was, oh my God, those chests are red. Holy crap, you're going to feel that in the morning. And also, am I slightly turned on? ? I really love this. And those slaps between both of them and those stiff shots were crazy. I was like, I don't know if GCW would and what the requirements are, but I would love to see Manders, and I don't know what. Well, I mean, Manders appears in DDT, so that's part of it. I was just like, I just need Manders to also, yeah. I just need Manders to fight more Japanese talent, whether it's DDT or even freaky New Japan. Like, I want Manders. I don't know how it would work, but Manders versus Zack Sabre Jr. would be crazy. Manders versus anybody. Literally, Manders got slapped the crap out of him this past week, and he's still going with it. Because then we get back to the States, he got slapped around by Macklin that hit him up, and then he got slapped around at Bloodsport too, which was nuts. But
well, and Manders is running such a crazy busy schedule. He's going to be at the Rev Pro show as part of Cowboy Way. He's in their tag team tournament. He's also the WXW Unified Heavyweight Wrestling Champion. Obviously a staple in GCW, going to Japan. I mean, he is just everywhere and anywhere and taking full advantage of it, living his best life. So I thought this, like, I did not think that this run through Japan was going to be as great as it was for Manders. Even though, spoiler alert, he lost all 3 matches.
He still looked great.
But this match, looking back on it, set the tone for what was going to happen. And I literally, my notes were that this was the Hossiest of Hoss matches. And It was so good, so fun. And it was just such a good match and such a good mixing of cultures, because it was like you saw both of these competitors earn each other's respect and respect each other's wrestling culture as well. So fun. Higuchi picks up the win, but then they both, pay respect to each other at the end of it. And this, I think, for this card, this was my match of the night.
Same, I agree.
But we move on to another match, which was the GCW Ultraviolet title bout between Super Crazy and Matt Tremont, the Ultraviolet champion. This was Super Crazy's only appearance on the Japan tour. I'm not sure if something happened, but this is what kicked off wrapped up our final day in Shinjuku face. Mikey, what'd you think about this Ultraviolet title match?
So I don't want to say this was the safest, because these two took gnarly bumps through tables and everything too. But this was still, again, all pun intended, this was super crazy to watch. You're welcome. I thought this was really, I enjoyed this match. It was a little bit slower, but I think it definitely worked to both Matt and Super Crazy's favor, in all honesty. And you know what? I was very surprised of how, gnarly some of the spots were, but it was still not as bloody and crazy. We're going to put a pin in that, because that definitely got changed over the next 2 days. I'm like, hot damn. But I enjoyed this match. I thought this was, it's crazy to say this, I feel like this was the safest Ultraviolet Championship of Matt Tremont's run that we've seen since he won the title back at the People versus GCW, which is great, because I feel like sometimes I'm like, Matt, I don't know if your cells are going to regenerate in the way that they're supposed to, because even just like a poke to your forehead and you're just gushing blood, I was just like, we are almost at levels of anime nosebleed. I'm like, what the heck?
He is not. He still didn't recover this past weekend. He was still not recovered.
Lord help us.
Yeah, I agree. This was a milder Ultraviolet title match, but it was still a solid match. And I mean, Super Crazy's been doing this for so long. He's not a spring chicken, but he's still going out there and doing it. I think it was absolutely a lot of fun for the people that were there. But that will wrap up our night at Shinjuku Face. Matt Tremont walks out as the champion, shouts up Japan at the end of the night, and that takes us over to Tokyo Square.
Crazy.
And it's funny, because looking back at this, not only did each night get a higher grade from me, but I feel like each night got a bit crazier. So we started off, with a more mild match, but it did kind of connect with a match from the first night, which was Jeffrey John versus Shota, another hometown wrestler against Jeffrey John. It had a surprise ending for me, but what did you think about the match prior to the finish?
So I thought the match was fun. I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't paying attention because I was like getting water or something from the kitchen, and then I heard Shota, and I was just like, I don't know why I thought it was Shota Umino. I was like, wait, what? I was like, and then I ran back over. I was like, oh, I had to do a double take because from behind I was like, oh my gosh, this not Shota, is it? And then when he turned around, I was like, oh no, never mind, it's just Shota, not Shota Umino. Because I'm like, those are the same pants that Umino wears in New Japan. I was like, what? But yeah, I thought the match itself was fine. Nothing too crazy, but obviously used to set up what we were gonna get at Corrigan Hall in a sense. So, but I still enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I love that in the span of 3 days, we still had a tiny mini feud that is better than most promotions do in weeks, like of TV build.
Oh yeah, and that's that. I think that was a smart thing to do because they had a lot of like comedic elements to it, and it tied it together so it didn't feel like it was filler because there was a purpose to all of it, no matter how silly it was. But as a bit of revenge, Kikutaro came out, distracted Jeffrey John. Shota got the win. Then Shota and Kikutaro attacked Jeffrey John after the match, and surprising me, Dark Sheik came out and made the save. We found out that the tag match that we were going to get on night 3 was actually going to be a trios match. And we found out that Kikutaro was inviting his best friend, Invisible Stan,
I love Invisible Stan.
one of the most devastating professional wrestlers ever.
Crazy.
But yeah, I thought this was a fine kickoff to the night. It built more as we went through the tour. Like you said, it felt like this whole tour had its own stories to it. But we moved on from this to Manders Haas Tour Night 2 as we got Manders versus Kamatani.
This was my favorite thing on the show. Like, I enjoyed everything, but I'm biased because I love Manders. But I thought the previous night was nuts, and then they just turned it up a level here, and then Manders upped it one more time at Quicken Hall. I'm just like, my God, Kamitani was nuts in this match too. Like, cameraman, you deserve a raise, and lighting, you deserve a raise too, because watching these sweat beads just pop off the chest of these two when they were getting slapped around, I was like, oh my God.
Well, and Kamatani, like, not that he made Manders look small, but it just feels crazy when you see these. Yeah, when you see wrestlers get in the ring with someone like Manders, and you're like, oh crap, they're as big, if not bigger. That's not a small person. And yeah, this was really two bulls going at it. And I think of the 3 matches he had in Japan, I think this may have been my favorite of the 3 as far as like in-ring action goes. But for Manders getting to fight a kind of a legend, the like senior wrestler of Japan that he faced, night 3 had a bit of special added to it. So I think each match had its uniqueness, and they were all super fun. But yeah, this match was so hard hitting, so good, and it took a couple half and half suplex. No, they weren't half and half suplexes. But it took a couple of hard slams to get Mander to stay down. And once again, they afterwards they both got up, shook each other's hands, bowed to each other, and respected each other. So super fun match for me. We move on from this to a 6-person tag match, which was Shotzi Blackheart, Dark Sheik, Yamashita, taking on YDMP, or Busta and the Brain, and Mao. Right? Was it Mao? Yeah, Mao.
Yeah, it was Mao.
Yeah. Taking on Mao. Very interesting characters. I've really enjoyed getting to see YDMP, Alec Price, and Jordan Oliver when they team with a third partner facing another trios tag team, um, because it feels like they work really hard in those matches where everyone really not only gets to do in-ring work, so we get that action, but we also get a lot of character work. And I feel like that's somewhere that Oliver and Price really excel at when they're in there, is because they're still finding their groove as a tag team, which they're getting better and better. They're like, I mean, they're so good right now together, but they're so good at playing along with the other person's character that they allow that to come out and really like build what the tension and the momentum and the excitement in the ring. But what did you think about this trios match?
I really love this one. It was really, again, GCW is one of the few promotions that we get to watch that does intergender very well. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, GCW will go there and have anybody fight anybody, which is really, really fun. And again, I'm not a wrestler. I don't know anything about the business, but I feel that being able to wrestle both men, women, and everybody in between too, including invisible stands and, kaijus as well. Listen, I saw somebody sent me a video of kaiju battle, and I'm like, I love it. Anywho, but this was a lot of fun. Again, looking at Mao's match from, Shinjuku face, it was really fun to watch Mao kind of lean into be more heelish in this match, if you want to call it that. So it was just like getting a little bit of booze, but still getting cheered as well. This was just a fun time all the time, and Busta and the Brain over here are just like having really good times, and these six mans they always end up being a part of are always great. Literally, they were part of what was it? The one at top place lives rent free in my head, man. But this
I think that might be my match of the year.
Seriously, that Billy, Megan, Dane, like everybody, everybody did so good in that one.
Ultimately, Busta and the Brain and Mao pick up the victory here, and they Price and Oliver showed off a new finisher, which they've been using the whole last week. So I like that they've got like 3 or 4 finishers, so you're never quite sure what they're going to hit you with.
Right. And we kind of talk about it all the time. And this is my biggest thing. I need wrestlers, whether you're in a trios, a tag team, or a singles, like you need to have at least 2 or 3 finishers in your arsenal, in my opinion. Like in kayfabe, so to speak, or storytelling, you want to not let your opponent be able to guess what you're going to do.
Well, and especially because they're, they in this match they finished it with the double implant DDT. They have the what do they call it? The 3YDMP or something, but it's it's the basically flapjack face buster. And then they've got the other one that they first started using, which was kind of like Oliver hip tossing Price into a blockbuster on the opponent. So they've got a variety of them that they can kind of hit you at from different angles, or they're high flying, or they're like double teaming together, which I also like that idea, because like they may not be able to hit the flapjack on a bigger opponent, but they could do the double implant DDT on a bigger opponent or whatever. But they pick up the victory here, and it was a chaotic but entertaining match. So we move on from this to a chaotic in a very different way, and this is where we kind of saw things pick up for Atticus Cogar. Atticus Cogar faced off against Drew Parker. And I think, this really started it off, but I think Drew Parker really, Atticus got his point across to Drew Parker in this match, we might say, and he kept getting the point throughout the rest of the week. But what did you think about this match with Parker and Cogar?
This is the one where the whole entire chair back was missing, and they were just using the frame, correct? Or was that?
No, that was the following night. This is the one where Drew Parker, the first of the week, where Drew Parker got a dart through his face.
Oh yeah, that's right. The first of the week. I was just like, a lot of GCW stuff blends together a little bit, but Yeah, that dart spot was gnarly. I was just like, that was the biggest, craziest part to me. I mean, when I saw this on the card, I was like, okay, I think I know where we're gonna go. And then a dart came out. I was like, well, color me surprised. Way to throw me for a loop, GCW. Atticus, you sick man. I love it. This was fun. And again, like you said, and I kind of got this when I was watching the three shows too, is because Drew Parker's more well known in Japan because he does spend a lot of time there as well. Um, the crowd was behind him, and they were so not having it with that. He was like throwing darts and beating him up for it. So I enjoyed this one. Again, this was well, it's crazy to say with the whole dart spot, but I was like, you know what? This was also kind of tame. But yeah, darts are crazy. Don't stick them in your forehead; they're never fun.
Or through your cheek.
That part too.
Yeah, no.
Darts and syringes, big no-nos.
Yeah. And, of course, Atticus Cogar always has his trusty skewers with him. Yes, I think also this felt a little mild because we head into our next match, which was the GCW World Title Death Match with Abdullah Kobayashi against Effie. And
this is wild. This was a wild, Andrew.
It started off where you would have to make a warning about blood and violence, and it ended where you have to make a warning about nudity, because so much of Kobayashi got seen by the end of that match. My goodness.
Like full cheek, everything. I was like,
I mean, there was a part when Effie was covering him that Effie was like, well, let me cover that for you. And yeah. But
like, and demonetized.
Yeah. But leading up to that, I thought this was a super entertaining match because obviously Abdullah Kobayashi has some of that hardcore tendencies, but is also very much in the Japanese style kind of comedic and over the top.
Hooking up on people. I was laughing so hard.
Running away from Effie and trying to use fans to protect himself and shield himself. What did you think about getting to see Effie defend his title against Kobayashi and the antics that they did along with the violence?
I love this because not to say that Effie's matches were missing anything as leading into our Japan trip, but when Effie defends them, they're usually like your standard wrestling bout. It's crazy, all that stuff. I like watching Effie be like leaning into the more comedic championship defenses as well, especially against someone as Kobayashi, because it was a lot of fun. And you know what? Effie leaned into it too, and which I think Effie does really good. Again, we talk about this all the time. The 360 that Effie has had, and he admits that he had his own faults like a couple years ago, and now we're here. He's our GCW champion. And I was like, adopt me, gay dad. Effie is the gay dad for everyone, and we love him. And yeah, this was I was laughing so hard again because Japanese comedy is very like physical based in the sense of certain things and the over exaggeration. Like again, watching Kobayashi try to use the fans in the audience as shields and just hugging people and things like that, and Effie's like, get yourself over here right now. I had a blast watching this one. It was bloody. It was equal parts bloody and equal parts bloody good fun as well. Like I was laughing and crying at parts of this too.
But Effie ultimately was able to pick up the victory and retain his title. Yeah, we did see Kobayashi stripped down to his
skivvies.
Maybe a Speedo. I'm not sure based on what we saw. But ultimately, it didn't prove to be enough, and Effie did pull out the victory. And he even, it was a wonderful thing because by the end of it, after that war that they went through, we saw them kiss and make up, and it was a wonderful sight to see two people be able to put their competition aside and get along. But speaking of violent competition, our main event was. So, I mean, matches are bloody, but I mean, it's going to be crazy when you start off the match and there's light tubes bound to the ropes.
Andrew, not even before the match even began, we got to see the promo package, and it already had me like hugging myself. I was like, oh my god. Because I was just like, I researched a little bit of Masashi Takeda, and I was like, okay, hardcore death match. Let's see what he got. And then when the hype package aired, I'm like, oh god, this is like another level. I was just like, I knew Japan was origin of death matches, but holy shit, this dude is like one of the OGs around the scene, and he's had many matches. And then as soon as it panned back to the arena and the arena was the way it was, I was like, oh god. I was like, I'm clutching my pearls, but I am salivating because I am a sick freak. This match was nuts, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean it was crazy, and I love that Matt Tremont, like Manders is getting to have his Haas tour. Matt Tremont is like
bleeding every day. Like
he is at the point now where he's already hit the point where he's got to be on the Mount Rushmore of death matches with how much that he has achieved. Between his basically passing the torch of Abdullah the Butcher to him, the titles he's won, the tournaments he's won, the people he's faced, and everything. But I love that he won this title and he has used it as a chance to face everybody and anybody that is willing to do a death match, and especially death match like legends and like actual death match performers. Yeah, this match was just so bloody, but so entertaining and so crazy. And I love when we get to see someone who's willing to go to the places that Matt Tremont is willing to go in a death match, because he is a madman.
I love Matt. And you know what? Honestly, I think I admit, because at first I was like, not to say I was mad, but I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting Matt to win earlier this year in January at GCW, versus the people versus GCW, right? Especially with everybody that we had in that ladder match, which was crazy. And then, you know what? I will proudly eat crow, and I will admit this too. I think every match I've seen Matt Tremont since then, I was just like, I can't be mad at you, Matt. And in fact, I love you now. You've won me over as a fan, and I'm excited. And now I'm like, I hope he doesn't lose this anytime soon.
Yeah, although I will say I won't be mad if the person he loses to is Bear Bronson. But that's just because Bear has built up such a love and like from all the fans. But that's for a later discussion. Yeah, Matt Tremont was not the person I expected to win that title, was not who I would have picked. But man, has he had fans, he's made fans, and he showed why he was the one to win that title. Like you, I'll take back any doubt that I had, and so much credit, because you can look at, oh yeah, he's a deathmatch wrestler, so he's had this title and he's willing to do all this stuff. But honestly, he has done what champions should do, and a lot of the champions at GCW have done. They're one of the tent poles of the company. They're there to support it, wrestle in any of the events that they're needed in. He's at basically every event for GCW. He is one of the pillars, and mad credit to him. And this was such an awesome match, and I think we also saw another match where we got to see two wrestlers really show each other respect, and I thought this was an awesome way to finish out the second night. This was probably my match of the night for Tokyo Square.
Same here. And honestly, it makes me excited to see Takeda. Now that I've seen what he can do, it makes me even more excited when he's showing up for Homecoming in 2 weeks as well. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm trying to think. He's going up against Slade. Yeah, he's going. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I love that too, when GCW goes somewhere and then they're about to have a big event, and we see all some of the people we saw from like their international event. It's almost like they were like, hey, we had so much fun, you should come. Like, it's like you go on vacation to another country, you meet people, and you're like, come back when you come over, you should come visit. And they're coming to visit.
So excited.
Yeah. So we move on to our third and final night in Japan in Corgan Hall. And I mean,
the biggest card of the 3 days and the craziest. This was just a fun show, and you can feel the energy because it's the legendary Corgan Hall, which us New Japan folks know very, very well. and is like sacred ground for not only New Japan but also sumo wrestling, as I learned from Adolfo too. Like the premier sumo league is held in Kurigan Hall as well with their exhibition and matches.
Mm-hmm.
And fun to learn that Adolfo used to do sumo wrestling, which was kind of fun to learn about. But holy crap, this was such a fun card. And while I enjoyed all 3 days, but I think by the end of this was probably my favorite of the 3 shows. But I think just because of the energy it brought.
And, you know, like, we talk about matches to start a card, matches to end a card. This was a card to end this tour. It was such good planning, such good wrestling, so entertaining. But we start off the night with a GCW tag team title bout between Busta and the Brain and what I call Yamashita, which was Rina Yamashita and Mao teaming together. Originally, this was supposed to be Yamashita and Slamovich tagging together, and Mao stepped in as a replacement. Man.
This is the Mao that I fell in love with at Best of the Super Juniors.
They're such a good tag team. Yamashita and Mao, so good.
I was so happy. I'm like, it's my girl Rena. I've missed you so much.
Yeah.
I was like, why is this open? By the end of it, I was like, why did this open? I was like, this is so good.
It was, I mean, honestly, up until the second to last and last match, this would have been my match of the night. But even before the end of the match, I was like, I want them to come to the States and wrestle again for the title.
Run it back.
So good. So much fun. Also getting to see Yamashita and Mao wrestle in Japan as kind of the hometown wrestlers, but also get to see the excitement that came from the champions. Obviously Price and Oliver pick up the victory here, but it was such a good match, such a good kickoff. Really high energy, really fun, and really good spots from everyone involved. We move on from this one to a singles bout, and this was Atticus Coker versus Miyu Yamashita, relation. And I think this was Koger's. For me personally, I think this was Koger's best match of.
This was my favorite Koger match of the 3 dates too. Like Yamashita is just so damn good. I love her. Like Homegirl is just great everywhere she goes. Bloodsport in her home of Japan, other GCW events abroad, AEW, Ring of Honor. Like this girl is everywhere and just kicking girls' faces in. Like so good.
And this was the match you were talking about where the chair seat broke off, and then Koger was hitting Yamashita with the chair frame, and Yamashita was kicking the chair frame to block it.
How was that girl?
Yeah. Crazy. And it was fun too because we got to see Koger face a tough opponent who didn't bring the like hardcore style, but it was more of the like she's a striker, like a tough striker, and so she brought a different style of toughness to it, and so it was fun to see Koger face against somebody like that.
Right. Make him think a little bit. It's just like, okay, she's physical. I can't get in too close like I normally do because she will kick my face in.
Yeah. Well, and it was also like he actually had to like hurt her and break her down because she wasn't going to be intimidated by any of his like tactics.
Which is good storytelling if you want to build a strong wrestler regardless of gender.
And this was also the one where Koger got the skewer stuck in his head as well.
Ooh, that was nasty, and I loved it.
And you saw him, like he pulled them out and then had to do a second pull out because
I saw the skin lift a little bit. I was like,
but this was an awesome match too. I thought it kept that energy going. It was super fun, and we got to see like what makes both of those wrestlers dangerous. We moved on from the action to a bit more of the comedic. Obviously, there was a bit of a change here.
Yeah.
Microman could not make it, so we got the team of Kikutaro, Shota, and Invisible Stan taking on Jeffrey John, Dark Sheik, and Yoshihiko.
The best wrestler alive.
Only in Japanese wrestling. Like I love it. I love seeing all these different styles. Love seeing the different cultures. It's like watching lucha libre. Like when you understand the like history and the style and the entertainment of those different styles, you can enjoy them. But I feel like there's so much, especially when you listen to fans that only watch, like, I just watch American wrestling, would just like see Yoshihiko as such a ridiculous thing, especially in a match with someone like Invisible Stan as well. But it's so fun, and I feel like it's also so much fun for the performers that are involved to be involved in matches like this.
I love this so much. And it's really cool because even if you've been in the wrestling circle for even a lengthy period of time, the viral clips have always made the rounds of like Speedball Mike Bailey fighting Yoshihiko.
Yeah.
And I was just like making it super epic and everything, and just Canadian Destroyer after Canadian Destroyer. And this was ridiculous, but like my kind of ridiculous. Again, I love, and not to say that the bigger promotions that we cover, like the Fed and AEW, and even to a certain extent TNA and all that good stuff. I'm like, when we get international talent, I wish they would bring that level that the indies do when they bring on international talent, especially GCW. It's just like, expose these people to different kinds of wrestling, like, for reals. Now, I think, and not to plug in any other promotions, but I feel like AEW is slowly getting there. I think they found a good working relationship with, everybody involved in New Japan and CMLL and Stardom. We're getting multiple people crossing the line, so to speak. So not only do we get to see the international stars in AEW, but the international crowd gets to see, our AEW US based folks have dream matches. Like, I'm excited for Speedball to wrestle in Mexico at the end of the month in the Grand Prix. I'm so ready. I was just like, I don't care. Team US, Team International is crazy stacked with a lot of folks I love from a bunch of these promotions. It's so fun. But I need more Japanese comedy wrestling in my life, man. Like, DDT is great, but I need more Americans to get on this train because, speaking of train, like, literally, like, where can you find wrestling like this where we have Invisible Stan and Yoshihiko? We see Mako Satomura and like drop kick Minoru Suzuki on a bullet train. I just saw TJPW have a whole out brawl in an aquarium. Like, I need more people to get on this because this is entertainment, and I feel like people forget the entertainment part of wrestling entertainment half the time. And I feel like GCW has done a good job, at least for me, since we started covering, of exposing us to more fun-based wrestling that needs to happen all the time.
Well, and I'll say it's also really fun. Like, I don't want to say it's just GCW fans because obviously, like, I mean, and I watch a lot of indies these days. And so, but it's not just the indies because you do get it in other, like, quote unquote, bigger promotions. But I love when the fans understand the assignment. And with a match where you have
they buy in, and that's the important part.
Yes. And so, like, characters like Yoshihiko and Invisible Stan, like, there are things happening, and they know what is happening when Invisible Stan is wrestling somebody. We all, like, you see what is happening in that ring, and it's so important as the audience for the rest of the audience to understand that and like add to it, because that's really what tells that story, and they go along with it, and that's what makes all of these characters make sense, makes them believable, makes them real, makes the story that they're telling complete. And so I think credit to the fans at Cork and Hall and the fans that were throughout this tour. Like, I think that was the extra part of the stories that they were telling. And so this match was a lot of fun. It was silly. Ultimately, Jeffrey John, Dark Sheik, and Yoshihiko pick up the victory. And it was silly, comedic action. And it was a nice little a bit in there between some of the hard-hitting action that we got. Speaking of, we got the final leg of the Haas Japan tour by Manders with
This was my favorite one. I'm not even
yeah.
going front. Like, hands down. I'm like, it's June fucking Yama. I was just like, I'm still newer to Japanese wrestling, but that I know that name from the history books. Like, holy hell, man.
This, and not to play into the stereotypes, but this was like every Western movie of, and
This was
Western by that I mean Western as in America, not as in Manders as a
it
cowboy
was
Western.
literally a spaghetti Western version of wrestling because Manders
Well,
is the hero and all
yeah,
this.
but
Like,
it's the American Western person going to Japan to study with the Japanese master, or the master from an Asian country, and get his butt kicked in order to learn how to be better at the thing that he's doing. And man,
strength and loss, yeah.
it was so good. It was so much fun. And like, it just, the respect, like, that's the thing I keep saying, is there was just so much respect, and like that makes me respect, it's the two things: when the wrestlers respect what they're doing and who they're working with, and when they enjoy what they're doing. And I got that from both of this. As much pain as they were probably in after this, that I felt like they were enjoying getting to do this thing that they love. So yeah, it was awesome.
I love this. Oh my gosh, this was my favorite of the three Manders matches that he had in Japan.
And I think I said this in my report card too, is that even though he went 0-3 in Japan, this showed me why Manders is one of the best Haas wrestlers right now, why he is also a pillar of GCW. And I love that he is showing up in all these places. He has a German title. He's wrestling in a British tag team tournament.
He's popping into House of Glory. His match at the Puerto Rico weekend was nuts.
He's just everywhere, and he's showing like he is earning the respect that he deserves, and like, credit to him. This 3 days made me such a huge Manders fan. Not that I wasn't before, but it even more than I was.
Like, I'm gonna be so for real, and I'm like, we're almost like, we still got a couple months of 2025. But if Manders keeps having a run, I'm literally gonna have to flip a coin between him and Bandito as probably my favorite wrestler of 2025, because I'm like, they're just everywhere. Also, shout out to Brodito. Brody King and Bandito is my new favorite tag team. I'm buying the shirt tomorrow. No lie.
Rodeo.
That's even better, Brody. Anywho, but Manders and Jun Akiyama, they did the damn thing, and I loved it.
But we move on from this to another. It was a more fun match. It had some good action in it, but it also had the silliness that we enjoy from both of these performers. I was looking forward to this because I wanted to see how Maki Ito's tactics would work against Shotzi. I also love that Shotzi's getting to bleed, because it's like, it feels like she was stuck in the Hot Topic punk rock for a few years, and now she gets to actually be punk rock again. And I love that she's getting to do this stuff.
I'm trying to think what comparison I can make. And I love what I'm about to say. I don't know if it's a fair assessment, but she went from like the Green Day punk to the motionless and white punk, if that makes any sense. Like, listen, wrestling has turned me into a rock and metal fan over the last year or two. I'm just saying, I need Shotzi and Maki to become a tag team, and they need to come out to baby metal at some point. Like, this is so baby metal coded. I love it.
They would be hilarious together. I'd be down for that, especially because they'd be pretty hardcore too. So
seriously.
Yeah, it was a fun match. It it wasn't the most over the top action packed match, but it was fun. We did get some blood. We got the the Nick Gage gifted pizza cutter. Maki is such a huge fan favorite pretty much wherever she goes, and Shotzi, I feel like already has fans, but every time she shows up, she's winning more and more fans.
Right. Like, Maki is one of my favorite Lolita wrestlers out there. Like, it's so damn fun.
And
I missed her so much.
I love that Shotzi pulled out the crying too. Like,
It's
Maki
so
started
fun.
crying, and then Shotzi's like, "All right, well, I can cry about
Let's
that
do
too."
it.
Yeah, it was
so
fun, and
fun.
I feel like this was a good kind of setup to be like, okay, now get ready for some like just balls
We're
to
about
the
to rock your
walls.
face off, yeah.
So this, I will say, was probably my match of, not this match that we're showing right now, but this match was my match of the night.
Ooh!
Barely. And it wasn't going to be the first half, but the second half and the post-match stuff.
So good.
Just, and I have only seen so much of Chris Brooks because I really only saw him when they did their first Japan tour. But, dude, like, what did you think about this?
This in-ring was untouchable for me. Like, don't get me wrong. I love me some good comedy, the cutesy, fun stuff like we saw with Shotzi and Maki, what we get in our main event because it got me bloody violence. But when you want to talk about just wrestling, like, banger. The words of Sheamus. This was a banger, bro. Like, this is why I love Japanese wrestling so much, man. Like, not even, well, I mean, this is GCW, but I was like, they were pulling out all the stuff that you would see our Japanese schools do in training. Like,
well, both of these guys are, even though they're Western wrestlers, they're both English. I believe they're both English.
They are a good example of what gaijin wrestlers need to be when they come to Japan. Like, these two, Zach, like, they know, they respect the art, they've been training, they put in the work, and my God, like, if I had to look back at all 3 days, if we're just talking like in-ring, just like the wrestling and the technical, not including like the, comedy spots or the stuff or the violence or anything, like, hands down, this is probably my favorite, like, quote unquote, pure wrestling match of the whole entire 3 nights. And by the end of this, before we talk about what happened afterwards, I was just like, run it back, give me a best of 7.
Yeah, this was the kind of match where, like, I'll make this example. So, I work in theater and entertainment and things like that. My first, like, career is stage management. And so, for a while, I was the stage manager for a ballet company and professional ballet company. And I remember there was one show that there was a piece, and these dancers, especially, there was specifically a couple of the male dancers, because it was a 3-person piece, would come off at the end of it and just drop to the floor and be panting, and just like, they literally poured everything that they had into it, because it took so much physical and emotional, like, it just took all the energy that you had. And I mean, these guys were chiseled, ripped, just like in such phenomenal shape, but they were literally exhausted. This match had that feeling at the end where it was like, you gave everything.
You gave it everything. And, I could say this because I respect the hell out of the art form too, but what you're also talking about too, like, these two literally gave me the wrestling equivalent of like a very good, like, Rakugo type of show. It's just like, anybody who knows the art form of Rakugo, like, it's just storytelling, but you see people sweating and putting everything into those performances when they're just there on the stage. And I was just like, that's the equivalent for these two. I 100% agree with you.
And, ultimately Chris Brooks wins. But the thing that really put it over the top for me was the promo at the end. And I think the thing, even though, honestly, I could only understand so much because I got what was being put across, like what you could understand without needing to speak the language, because both of them cut promos in Japanese.
I cried a little bit. I'm like, I need more wrestlers in the Western when they go international to try. Like, these two and Hangman Adam Page will forever this year be my favorites because they respect where they're at. And I'm like, Hangman, I didn't know you could speak Spanish like that, bro. I was so surprised.
Well, and these are two wrestlers who had careers or have careers in Japan. So that's
Mm-hmm.
like where they live. They speak the language. They are Japanese wrestlers. They may not be wrestlers of Japanese
Origin or
origin,
descent.
but they are Japanese wrestlers. Where they wrestle is Japan. And Chris Brooks went out there and was just like cut a promo like anybody else would in their native language in Japanese. And man, there was just, you could tell from the way he was saying things, the way the audience was reacting, the way that Drew Parker reacted, like they were just paying so much respect to each other. And then the fact that afterwards Drew Parker got the mic and cut a short promo in Japanese as well, and was basically just like thanking everybody there, thanking Chris Brooks, thanking the Japanese audience, thanking Japan. Like it was just like, it was all of the stuff that we love about wrestling and why we do this.
This is, again, like from a heart of wrestling perspective, this made me like gave me the warm and fuzzies, like, and I'm not using that in like an ironic way, but like as a wrestling fan, especially like, again, what has happened within the last like week or so, sometimes wrestling makes me irritated and mad and in my feelings, and it's just like, why do I even try? And then it's moments like these where it's just like, this is why I love professional wrestling half the time, and I put up with the shit that we have to deal with half the time from other promotions. Like, and this is why I also say people like, it's 2025. If you're looking for something new, like, I mean, GCW has changed my perspective on wrestling as a whole, and it is not hyperbole, it's true fact, because at first I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna stick with the big US feds that we watch, like WWE, AEW, TNA, all that stuff. And then over the course of the 3 years, and meeting all the folks that we are involved with here at BC WrestlePod, and being the guinea pig, so to speak, of be like, hey, I want to try out this promotion. I need somebody to watch with me. I'm like, okay, I'm down. Andrew has converted me into an independent fiend as well. But in return, I turned him into a progress wrestling fiend as well. So it goes both ways. But yeah, man, I'm just like, I truly believe that in order to have a good perspective on wrestling, I feel like you should have a triangle. You need to watch a major US promotion, any independent base, and then one international brand to get like a good like feeling about what's out there in the world. And then if you want to explore more, you can. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so happy that I brought in my horizon, because it's moments like these we don't see that often.
Absolutely. And we speak about this aspect of professional wrestling, and it brings us to our final match, which is another aspect of professional wrestling that I think
this was violent. Yeah. Literally, if I could put the sound effect in, I would, but I was like, the girls are fighting and bleeding, and Effie with the staple gun is something I didn't know I wanted, but also was terrified.
They both at one point just had wads of money stapled to their heads. It was so ridiculous. And but it also was like, I love that we're seeing like kind of the leaders, especially because we're heading into 2-day war. You've got Effie, who really is like a locker room leader for GCW. He's not only the world champion,
he's
but
GCW dad.
This was dad and uncle were fighting.
Yes.
Like, this is what we got. And like, I love the fact that they went there with each other. They like got so violent, so bloody. They went through it all. But ultimately, by the end of it too, we had these two hugging in the ring, cutting a promo, like thanking the fans, touting GCW. Like this was also like, if it wasn't for the previous match, this would have been my match of the night.
Seriously, like, I had such a blast with this one in terms of like how bloodied it was and violent, and makes me super excited for what at that point what was to come from Hit 'em Up in Bloodsport, and now leading into Homecoming into. I can't believe we're almost here to Homecoming, which is crazy to me. I'm like, we're almost there.
I feel like we just had Homecoming. It's crazy.
Which, as I've been saying in our private, but putting it out here too, when we finish Homecoming weekend 2025, it will officially have marked 1 year for us at BC WrestlePod covering GCW, which is nuts.
Yeah. And so happy that we did. I don't know if you have more to say about this match, but I
I had a blast. That's the best way to summarize it.
I I love what we're getting to see from GCW. I love to see the growth that we're getting to see, learning their history and how far they've come and what they've done for independent wrestling, what the wrestlers do in GCW as well as outside of GCW. Um, all in all, I thought this Japan tour was so much fun. I thought it was super successful. I love that they got to go to a place like Japan, and I love when they get to go to those other places because, like you said, they get to bring their wrestling to another place, and they also get to experience the wrestling of that place. Um, we had 3 solid nights, some incredible matches, good storytelling, both short term and long term. Um, I thought it was an absolute success, and I can't wait for next year.
Me
But
either.
what did you think about the 3 nights in Japan overall, Mikey?
I was really, going into it, I was really excited because of the fact that, again, when we did Homecoming last year in August, like last August, last summer,
Hmm.
and, still continuing to follow GCW, I was like, these are the joys that people who have been following this promotion or any promotion similar to this for a very long time get to feel on a constant basis. And again, this year has been a lot of firsts for me for GCW. And again, it's changed my perspective because beforehand, when I heard GCW, like most people, I just automatically went to, oh, it's nothing but death matches and hardcore matches and things like that, which it partly is. But I don't I don't know if I get in trouble for saying this, but I think for someone like me and watching GCW, and again, not to bring like not politics but like social commentary to it, but it just feels so freeing of how progressive GCW is in
Hmm.
terms of its talent and just, how much fun they have and the ability to, even though it's not weekly television like most other promotions we cover here, the fact that they are able to string feuds and stories and things like that is amazing. And again, I feel like, and this is with any independent, but GCW this year, that since we started covering, has done a fun job of introducing me to some really cool talent that starts
Hmm.
popping up in these promotions we normally cover, or introduce me to international stars that I wasn't aware of and now I love. Again, GCW has given me Maki Ito and Rina and Yamashita, Matt, all from Best of the Super Juniors, like even the comedy characters that we got to see in this tour.
Yeah.
And I was so happy with everything. The best way I could summarize it, I got a little bit of everything. I got some heart, I got some laughs, um, I had some tears a little bit seeing some people fight other people in fun matches as well. And I feel like, again, this is one of those shows that has changed and broadened my perspective. And I was just like, I'm it's made me a better wrestling fan and I'm truly enjoying it. I really, really am. So I was really happy to be able to get to watch these and review it with you because again, you introducing me to GCW and then getting to do all these things with you since you introduced it to our review squad and everything has changed and molded my perspective and broadened it a little bit. So I, again, not to get too emotional, but I love that, Andrew, and I can't thank you enough for letting me tag along with you for GCW because this has been some of the funnest wrestling I have seen in forever. Question mark. It's again, it just brought in my horizon, so I'm glad that you have introduced me, and now I'm a fan for life.
Well, and I will say, joining BC WrestlePod, definitely, it got me back into really paying attention to wrestling, which is what got me into GCW. And because of that, bringing that into our umbrella is what got me involved in Defy, in Progress, now Rev Pro, a lot of the international promotions like ICW, WXW, BZW, even HOG, and Wrestling Revolver, and a lot of those places. It really opened up the possibilities. And so I appreciate you also being open to bringing those things in. And I think it's been really fun for the people that have gotten to experience the variety of wrestling that's out there, whether it's these things, CMLL, New Japan, or just getting exposure to other promotions, even if they're the bigger ones. But yeah, and speaking of exposure to new promotions, we get together for GCW versus Juggalo Championship Wrestling
Holy
next.
crap, man! Like, not to steal Andrew's thunder, but like I've been making this mention all week on the review shows of how I don't know what to expect, but I'm also really excited for 2-Day War, because this will be my first big exposure to Juggalo Championship Wrestling, since it's gonna. Well, I mean, it's a 2-Day War with both companies going up against each other, but it's still on GCW territory, so it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And also, I'm here to make new friends too, so I'm really excited to meet and hang out with your friend Sam. I'm ready. This is going to be nuts, and yeah, the thumbnails I made is just like the surface level of what to expect, so this is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
but
I'm excited.
I can't wait. I can't. Oh, so much wrestling. But if it is okay with you, Andrew, I will take the reins from here to sign us out for the evenings. Yep. So thank you so much for tuning into our GCW in Japan review. We will be back next week with reaction/watching the 2-Day War night 1 and night 2. So myself, Andrew, and friend to the channel, Sam, I was just like, I'm excited. Crosswave has said good things about him, so I'm super excited to meet him as well. So that's going to be fun next week. But we got a lot of stuff happening this week too. Tomorrow evening, the TNA crew will be back. We are literally 1 week out from Emergence, and they literally tonight just dropped pretty much almost their whole entire card for Emergence. And I think this is, again, Emergence is not like one of those big pay-per-views. It's like a filler one to lead us to Bound for Glory in October. But I'm excited nonetheless. Saturday, Adolfo and I will be doing a live watch along for MLW's Blood and Thunder, where we'll see Miss Shotzi in her MLW debut match, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch, as well as our opening round of the Opera Cup and some fun stuff happening there. And then we wrap things up on Sunday with our WWE review. But yeah, 2-Day War next week, and then Homecoming the following week. Well, in 2 weeks after that, I'm like, Lord help us. Oh my gosh, the G1's also coming to an end next week too. Holy crap. There's a lot of wrestling going on.
And like you mentioned, we'll be doing our first Rev Pro report card for Rev Pro Anniversary 13, which is the same weekend as Homecoming.
I know we're not doing a live watch along for it, but Rev Pro just casually dropping. Oh yeah, the day before our anniversary show, we're just gonna bring back Global Wars UK. I'm like, stop doing this to me, you guys. Like, there's so much wrestling that weekend between Forbidden Door and all that jazz. And I was just like, but am I going to watch everything and drive myself nuts? You're damn right I will. But we have a lot of fun stuff this week, and I'm so excited. And I'm happy that I get to do it with these lovely people, Andrew included. Like, honestly, it's a blast. And yeah, so we're going to sign out for the evening because I want to chat with Andrew for a bit. But thank you so much for tuning in. Come by tomorrow for our TNA review, or what's we got going on this weekend, or even next week where we got a loaded week as well. But this is going to be Ultraviolet Union signing off for the evening. But until next time, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay Bi-Conic, and more importantly than anything, you deserve to finish your story. So this is Andrew and I signing off for the evening. So until next review, remember, sayonara, adios, and peace.